Amusement parks seem like a place of happiness. The rides, the laughter of children, the smell of cotton candy, the screams of delight on the roller coaster. We come there for joy and forget about fears. But it only takes a second for the equipment or the person to fail, and the holiday turns into a nightmare. Today, you will hear 3 stories. Stories about people who came for fun or just doing their job, but found themselves face to face with horror. These tragedies forever changed the entertainment industry, and each of them could have been prevented. Tyre Sampson, Orlando Freefall, USA, 2022. Tyre Sampson was born in Missouri. He was only 14 years old, a big, tall teenager, almost 2 meters tall, weighing more than 170 kilograms. He was known as a good-natured giant, adored American football, and dreamed of getting into the NFL. Friends called him Big Tick and believed that he had a future in sports. In the spring of 2022, Tyre went to Florida for vacation. Nothing foreshadowed the tragedy. An ordinary trip. Entertainment, joy. On March 24th, he came to Icon Park and sat on the world's tallest free-fall attraction, a 131-meter-high tower. As the seats began to rise, Tyre smiled at his friends, but in the recordings he can be heard joking, "If I don't survive, tell my mom I love her." Many considered it teenage humor, but when the capsule fell, something terrible happened. At the moment of braking, the restraint gave way, and Tyre flew out of the seat. His body hit the ground in front of dozens of witnesses. People screamed, filmed everything on their phones. This moment became one of the most terrifying videos to fly around TikTok. The investigation revealed horrifying details. The sensors on the seat were manually twisted so that the system showed closed even with too large a gap. His weight exceeded the permissible norms, but no one stopped him. The control system failed, and human greed and negligence did their job. The tower was later dismantled, and the authorities of Florida passed the Tyre-Sampson Law. Now all high attractions are required to have double locking systems. But for the boy's mother, this is small consolation. Her son will never return. The attraction has been dismantled. In March 2023, dismantling of Freefall began. The site of the tragedy was surrounded by a memorial where people left flowers and stuffed animals. The operator company received an administrative fine of $250,000. Court. In December 2024, a jury awarded the family $310 million in compensation against the manufacturer, Funtime Handles GmbH. Separate settlement agreements were concluded with the owners of the park and the operator. Tyre's mother, Nakia Dredden. After the tragedy, she said in an interview, "My boy just wanted to have fun. He was my sunshine, my hero. Now he's gone because of someone's greed and negligence." She also added that if the staff had checked the weight and restraints, this would never have happened. Father, Yarnell Sampson. At press conferences, he cried and said, "I see his face every night, how he screams. No one should die like this, in a place where people are supposed to be happy. My son was too big. They knew it. But instead of saying no, they put him in a chair. This is murder by negligence." The family was actively involved in the creation of the Tyre-Sampson Act. Tyre's mother said, "If this law saves even one life, then my son's death was not in vain." Tyre Sampson's tragedy became a symbol of how the entertainment industry can sacrifice safety for profit. His parents have had their son's name put on a law that should protect other children, but for them, it's small consolation. They lost a child who dreamed of becoming a professional athlete, and their pain remains a reminder of the cost of negligence. Dreamworld, Thunder River, Rapids Disaster, Australia, 2016. A hot Australian day. The attraction, Thunder River Rapids, was one of the most popular at Dreamworld. The queue was long, people were laughing, children were screaming with delight. No one thought that there was a tragedy ahead. Victims of the tragedy. Kate Goodchild, 32 years old, is a mother of 2 children. Luke Dorset, 35 years old, is her brother, a pharmacist. Ruzbe Ruzi Aragi, 38 years old, Luke's partner, interior designer. Cindy Lowe, 42 years old, is a mother of 2 from Sydney. Their children were also on the raft, and it was they who witnessed the terrible death of their parents. A raft with 6 people was smoothly descending to the platform when suddenly one of the pumps stopped. The water level dropped and an empty raft was stuck nearby. The operators noticed this, but they acted slowly. Seconds later, the raft with the Goodchild family and Cindy Lowe crashed into the stuck one. The impact was powerful. The raft was thrown up and hung on the conveyor. The screams of the children cut through the air. Witnesses said that the girl screamed, "Mom! Mom!" as the raft turned over. 2 children were thrown to the side. They fell on the edge of the structure and miraculously survived. But the 4 adults were trapped. They were literally sucked into the moving mechanism. Giant toothed shafts and steel parts of the conveyor crushed them in seconds. Eyewitnesses later said that it was like a meat grinder, where the raft and bodies were grinding together with the metal. One man from the queue rushed to the emergency button, but it was at the other end of the platform. By the time he reached it and hit the foot, it was too late. The ride froze in complete silence, leaving only the terrible screams of children and the shock of the eyewitnesses. What the investigation revealed, the system's pumps had been in need of repair for a long time. Stopping one line led to a drop in water levels and the risk of rafts becoming jammed. The dangerous scenario with the raft lifting was known to engineers back in 2012, but nothing was fixed. The staff were poorly trained, with one operator coming to work for the first time that day. The emergency button was located too far away and was not used in time. The coroner said, "This was a disaster waiting to happen." Aftermath of the tragedy, the ride was dismantled and the park suffered huge reputational losses. The owner of Ardent Leisure admitted guilt and received the largest fine in Australian history, 3.6 million Australian dollars. Relatives of the deceased children said that after the tragedy, the children could not sleep for a long time and cried at night, calling for their mother. In 2024, Luke Dorset was posthumously awarded for bravery. He held his niece until the last seconds and saved her life. Witnesses still remember that day. The line to the attraction turned into chaos. Parents hugged their children, people cried, and the staff stood in shock, unable to explain how this could have happened. For Dreamworld, it was the darkest day, and for the families of the victims, it was the moment when joy turned into the worst nightmare. Disneyland Paris, Death of a Worker, 2010. In this horrific story, the victim was a 53-year-old contractor technician who had worked at the park since the late 1990s. He was one of those invisible employees who checked equipment, cleaned, repaired, and prepared rides for opening every day. Unlike the costumed actors and managers, his work went unnoticed, but it was these people who ensured safety and order for millions of guests. Co-workers described him as calm, reliable, and an old-school worker. He lived near Marne-la-Vallée, a town near Disneyland Paris, and devoted his entire life to hard physical labor to support his family. On October 6, 2010, a man was doing morning cleaning and maintenance on the It's a Small World ride when the boat movement system was accidentally turned on. He was pulled under one of the hulls, and his body was crushed by the mechanism. His colleagues tried to pull him out and called an ambulance, but his injuries were incompatible with life. He died in hospital shortly after being evacuated. It was later revealed that the main reason was a missing power lockout/tagout during maintenance. That is, employees had no reliable way to lock the equipment in a safe state while a person was working nearby. One incorrect switch-on was enough for the equipment to turn into a death trap. As a result, Disneyland temporarily closed the attraction, tightened safety regulations, but there is almost no public information about the contractor's punishment or compensation to the family. For the company, it was a technical failure, and for the relatives of the deceased, a tragedy that took away a husband, father, and colleague who was simply doing his job. 3 stories, 3 different countries, a teenager, a family with children, and an ordinary worker. Their lives ended in a place where laughter and music reign. All of them died not by accident, but by mistakes. Tweaked sensors, broken pumps, violated maintenance rules. Each of these deaths could have been prevented. Amusement parks should give joy, not become a place of pain and fear. These tragedies are a reminder. Behind every ride seat, behind every mechanism, there is a human life. And the price of error is too high. Safety is not a formality, but a matter of life and death. But what do you think? Do you feel safe when you get on rides? Or is trust in amusement parks lost forever after stories like these? Leave your opinion in the comments.